everyone, Adam here, So Wizard Podcast, sitting down with Tim Jones of Sour Grapes. How you doing, Tim?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good. We made it happen. We had a couple of scheduling issues, but we finally got there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, for regular watchers of the YouTube channel, we've done little mini interviews at cons in the past, like a handful of times, but we never got to like really sit down and more than 5 minutes.
It's all right.
Yeah, well, it's good to be busy at the cons. That's what you want, right?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit of stress is okay.
Right. So I want to go all the way back to the beginning, like even pre-Sour Grapes. Were you always into cartooning and drawing?
Oh yeah, I just my whole life is a cartoon, to be honest with you. uh, but yeah, as far as I can remember, um, I've just always been into even before drawing, I was just always watching cartoons and not sports and stuff, or
Yeah.
anything else. And then I just started to just kind of you know want to draw those things, and so I just started doing that. And I remember my first favorite comic was, I was always drawn to the comic strips, comic books, yes, but the comic strips, because I really like the cartoon style as opposed to the animately correct comic books per se, and because they were just more fun. And so I remember Garfield was my big influence at the time. And I would get the Sunday paper with the comics, and I would just draw right on the comics next to the Garfield strip, and just draw Garfield, you know. And it just kind of started from there, and I just kept scribbling and doodling throughout high school instead of doing my homework. And so um, and then I just fast forward to today, doing my thing. So, but
Before you got to Sour Grapes, was there any other, even if you didn't like intend to take it as serious or try to get it syndicated or anything like that, um, were there any other strips that you did first before you found Sour Grapes?
yes, I had a strip back in the late '90s. I'm dating myself. Um, to early 2000s, called Every Blue Moon, and those actually um, had the same characters as I do now, including Aesop, which that's how old he is. And so that ran in about 6 newspapers locally.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. So you were syndicated then.
yeah, just a little bit. And it was just a different time back then. My ability and my drawing and my writing was um, just coming into play in that. So um, that ran for about, oh geez, 4 years, 5 years or so at the time. And then I just decided to put it to bed because I couldn't really develop it. It was just kind of all over the place, just little quirky um, episodes and that. And I knew the characters, but I really didn't. Um, so I just kind of put that to bed for a while. Took some time off, got married, had kids, and then I started to do stand up.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, I did some stand up, and for a few years. And I did that because first of all, I thought it was funny, and then second of all, it helped me with my writing. It helped me learn um, the beats to a joke, the setups, the punchlines, the timing, the rhythm, all that stuff. That all comes out in the strip, believe it or not, as far as I'm concerned, anyways. So that really
That
helped.
kind of makes sense. I can follow that because you do like the short forms. You're not doing a 30-page comic book with one story. So
Right.
you really need that set up punchline, like kind of constant.
Yeah. I need to hit the mark every time. It's
Yeah.
just the good thing about doing a comic strip is that you can't hear if people are laughing or not. So, and it's hard to read the room with stand up. They're either going to laugh or they're not. So you kind of, you don't know. So you kind of have to have faith in yourself and I always throw the jokes out at a few people and say, is this funny? Does this make sense? And um, 9.9 times it does. So that's good.
Yeah.
Um, it helps if you can make yourself laugh. So I just put a mirror up front. But I but so I did that, and I also did some improv classes, so that helped out a lot too. Um, and So I did that for a while, and then in doing that, I met a lot of people. I met some professionals. I met a comedian, Paul Nardizzi, and he's a professional comedian, lives in Massachusetts, and he helped me out quite a bit, and we ended up doing a strip together. He wrote it and I drew it, called Job Shop, and that ran in about 6 or 7 papers. And That lasted for a couple of years because his career really started to take off. He started doing Comedy Central and Conan O'Brien and all that stuff. So
Wow.
we kind of um, had to put that to bed.
You didn't have a lot of
And
time
then
for a weekly comic at that point.
yeah, so time kind of just went along, and then um, right around 2013 or so, I was working and I got laid off, and I kind of took advantage of that time, and I was just like, I think I want to bring this stuff back. I had quite a few people to say, where you been, and we're a big fan of your work and all this, and um, so I ended up bringing back the same characters, but under the umbrella of sour grapes, and the rest is history.
Yeah, so you've been running Sour Grapes for 10 years now? Or
Yeah, I'm
coming up?
celebrating the 10th anniversary this year,
That's awesome.
and I'm hoping to put something special out. I just got to decide what that is.
Right.
I don't know what it's going to be, but I got a few ideas kicking around. I just have to find the time to do them.
That's
So,
really cool.
but it's
Uh,
constant. It's constantly developing. Even
Sour
even
Grapes?
yeah, even to today. Um, I'm starting to bring back resurrect strips that I did back in 2019, 2018 of the jokes that I like. I'll kind of rewrite them a little bit because my writing now is not really different, but just more refined. You
Hmm.
know, like within the past year or two, I think I've really found how I want this to read and how I want the humor to be, and I've really gotten to know the characters, especially Aesop. So so I'm starting to bring some of those back, um, and but I draw a little different now too, um, and so I've developed that a little bit. So I'm just trying to almost like a reboot um, this year, and some of last year too. So it's never ending. I'm in quite a few newspapers now, and so it's important to me to just keep it going. People
Yeah.
say, "Oh, 10 years, shouldn't you hang it up now?" No, I just
Yeah,
want to
why
keep
would you? It's what
going.
you do.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to keep going and develop it, and it's based on my miserable life personally. So I as long as that's happening, I'll have sour grapes.
He owes that material.
Yeah.
But it's especially dumb for people to say, "Isn't it time to hang it up?" Just because it's 10 years, if you still feel like you're improving the art and the writing, like that's the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, I it's always important to me, anyways, to always do better than your last one kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but not trying to outdo myself either. You want to have some consistency to things, and not, have a few strips that are this way, and then all of a sudden you change. Instead of having like a gag going next night, now you have like an observational humor and stuff like that. I don't want to change like that. It's basically a gag strip,
Mhm.
in 3 panels. Like Garfield's that got gags, um, and so there's all different kinds of humor. I just try and keep mine, um, like a good delivery to it, so to speak, like a good punch.
Do you find, especially after all this time, that the 3 panels is limiting, or are you so used to that format now that it's like what you do? It's like breathing.
Um, yeah, I never thought of it that way. It's like breathing. Yeah, sometimes I lose my breath, but I
So
yeah,
you
I'm
never
just
come up with a
just
joke that's like 5 panels, and you're like, I just don't see how to get it down to the three I need.
no, I've learned to just you cut it down. You pick out the important parts that'll catch the joke. Um, I'm gonna be working on some Sunday size, um, strips. And so what I'll do is I'll take a strip that I've already done and just stretch it out, stretch the story out a little bit, get a little more, details into what someone's saying, um, and kind of break it up, and then that way you fill up more panels.
Okay, so you can do a longer format.
I could if I wanted to, yeah. That's what I
Okay.
mean. With 3 panels, you really gotta, um, chop it down and just have the important parts in there that's gonna have it make sense and have it make it work. You
Yeah.
know, that when people ask me, about the construction of a strip, and I just tell them, it doesn't necessarily have to be funny. It just has to work. It has to make sense. If you have you know a gag or a short, um, episode of something going on that day in that strip with those characters, you don't want to leave it open ended at the end, unless you have a serial strip, which is like a next time, this happens, and then you pick up the story in the next strip kind of thing. Um, but mine has um, a premise, a setup, and a punchline usually.
Every time, yeah.
I mean, everybody has their niche. They can write in 4 panels, so they can write in three. I really respect these guys that do these one panels, single panels,
Hmm.
because you got to get everything right there. That, as a matter of fact, that picture in that one panel's got to tell the whole story in and of itself. Maybe it'll have some dialogue or something in there, and then there'll be a caption underneath. It's all gonna say it once. It's got to make sense in that one panel. At least with multiple panels, you have some time to plan it out. You also have elements. Oh, look at me using big words. Elements, um, like um, emotion or expressions on the face and actions and whatever. I mean, I don't do a lot with. If you've noticed, I don't do a lot with backgrounds and stuff in mine. I think it's distracting, and I'm lazy, so I don't really. I don't want.
Well,
I just don't
for a
want to go.
3 panel, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say for a 3 panel or even a 1 panel setup punchline, like if the background doesn't add to it, what's the point?
Right, right. I mean, if I have to, like, I've put the house that they live in, my characters, or um, one time I drew Constance in a mall, so I had to kind of draw something in the background so we knew she was in a mall. You know, that type of stuff. But I'll keep it off to the sides and won't put it in the background because I think that distracts from it. Your eye might just go right to, say, I drew the doors of one of the stores in the mall. Well, it's going to be, if it's right in the middle, your eyes are going to go there and not pay attention to the characters. So
Right.
for me, it's really important that the characters are up front. You know, so um, like this. Can I show you one?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is one that I did recently. I think it might be backwards, but on the camera. But it's real simple. I just did a floor, colored it pink because when I do constants, the bottom is like a pinkish color. So I do that for
Okay.
constants, and you know, um, this is one about her wanting to go to the gym to do a workout, and Aesop's not into it, and so I just kept it, this way. So it's nice and simple. I don't do a background color. You might see some strips do that too. So and then the middle panel, you'll notice is nothing, just the characters themselves. So I call that's called two things: a ghost panel because there's no um, panel frame, and also it just highlights just the characters. There's no background at all, so I call that a showcase panel. And so that's basically it. And if you
And
hold it like this, it looks like they're on a hill. Go ahead.
do you do the showcase ghost panel just to draw attention, just to change it up, or you just like the style of it?
Yeah, it breaks things up. I like the way it looks. I think it's
It makes it
different.
look bigger.
Yeah, I think it's unique.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of strips have something like that. And I just decided to do that one day, and so when you do a comic, you do rules, and that was one of my rules is that the middle panel is not going to have anything but the characters and dialogue. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah, nice. Do you have a hard time? Because I mean, 10 years of sour grapes, and you had a couple years of the ones you partnered up with, and you had what was it, 4 or 5 years of the first one that you had syndicated.
Yeah.
That's 2 decades of weekly punchlines. Do you ever like
Yeah, and
what
I'm
am I
only
gonna do? I have to
29,
have this
so I don't
tomorrow?
know how that happened. Okay. What's that?
I was just wondering, do you ever get to a place where it's like, say Thursday night and you have to have the comic in by Friday or whatever your deadline is for the newspapers, and you're just like, I don't know, I've done this 6,000 times. I don't have another one.
Yeah, that happens.
Mhm.
But I got to sit back and just, think about what happened in my life that week. Um I may have jotted down some ideas of, other things that happened, and I'll just kind of pull those out and see if I can make it work. I try and see the strip in my mind's eye first, so I can kind of see it. That's how I can. It's weird, I know, but it's how I can write it in my mind, so I can see it, and then finally I just get it down on on paper, and just kind of go with that. But yeah, there are times where I'm just kind of drawing a blank, no pun intended.
Right.
So um,
You
this
probably
is
have like converse weeks too, sometimes I would guess, where you have like 8 panel strip ideas. You just don't have enough time to get them all down.
right, exactly. So this is. Can I show something else?
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's how I do this. Whoops, I gotta back it up. I draw two to a board. I use Bristol board, and that's how I start out. A lot of comic artists draw the whole thing, soup to nuts, and the art, and then I don't know what they do from there to get it into if they put it in the computer or how they do it, but this is how I do it. And then I'll do two more on that side, like that, and I write in the words in pencil, and that's how I know how big to draw the balloons, and then that gets scanned into Photoshop, and I take it from there. So I'm like 60-40 with old school to digital,
Okay.
because I have to get it into Photoshop anyways to color it. So I use
Right.
Photoshop to put the panels in for the text. Um, I do my blacks in there, like I'll dump in the black areas, um, fix mistakes, and and then I gotta save it as a black and white, and then I do another color version of it, and then I have to save it as high res JPEGs, and that's what gets sent out to the papers.
Is your
So
black and white like the full color version? You just set it to grayscale, or do you have to do a separate gray
no,
coloring?
it jeez, I wish I had one. Black and white is just black line on white background.
Oh, not even grayscale.
No, I hate grayscale. I don't do grayscale.
Okay.
I wish I had one. I don't.
So it basically just looks like inks
Yeah, it's just. I mean, it looks a lot like what I just showed you, just filled
with
in
the
and
letters.
finished. Yeah. Um, but so yeah, that's I got to do it both ways, and send it out. Takes me forever. All the um the papers that I'm in, they all have different deadlines.
Oh, really?
So it's like I have deadlines Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday
For the same strip.
for the same. Everybody gets the same strip. Yeah. Some of the newer papers I work on a backlog until they get caught up to current.
Okay.
Um, but um, but you know, 90% of them I get the same strip. Um, in that I'm in a few monthlies, so they get obviously once a month. So I'll go back and just pick one out that I like from that month.
So you got to keep records of what you've already sent where.
Yeah, I've got strips going way back to forever, but I
Right.
usually just go back to last year. I won't usually go back too far, just because, like I said, it's developed, so I don't want to send them something that looks like it used to. I'd rather
Hmm.
want it to look like. That's why I'm reinventing it. I mean rebooting it because I want to have it look the way it looks now. Um,
Right.
so it's not a it doesn't look a lot different, but it there are some differences that I really like, so I'd rather have that. So that's kind of the beauty of being self syndicated. I can do whatever I want. You know, if I was nationally syndicated, then they'd be telling me what to do. Um, Not in a mean way, but just say do it this way and then move on.
Right.
So
You mentioned the syndication thing a few times. Do you want to talk a little bit about the whole self syndicated process? Because I think we covered it at a con or something in like a really like bird's eye view.
well, I'm self syndicated, which means I do it all. As opposed to nationally syndicated, meaning with a national syndicate like King Features or Andrews McMeel, the big guys, and they handle it, and then you work for them, um, and they distribute you and stuff. I'm my own syndicate per se, so I I'm in 41 papers now.
Yeah,
I
that's
just got
awesome.
Thank you. I just got into another one in Texas, and um, waiting on a couple others, but it just keeps piling up, and it's great. I go I'm right across the country right now, and so it's a lot of work. But I like being in the driver's seat too. And
Yeah,
it's
well,
almost
the
yeah
syndication, are you calling the paper or emailing them like, hey, here's a handful of comics I'd like to be in your paper,
yeah.
or
9 times out of 10 I call, and 9 times out of 10 the editors don't pick up their phone because I'd rather have a a conversation, and I think the editors appreciate that you're reaching out to them, and 9 times out of 10 they say yes, send me some samples, and 5 times out of 10 I get in.
that's
So
awesome.
it all depends. It's like fishing. But sometimes I'll send an email and then follow that up a week later with a phone call.
Hmm.
and say, hey, I emailed you a week ago. I'd like to just follow up, and um, then they'll maybe have looked at it already. I don't know. Um, but if I talk to them and they say send me some samples, then I'll follow up with them like a week later. Um, hopefully they like it. And I've been lucky. It's taken me a long time to get into 41 papers too. You know, I don't spend a hell of a lot of time calling papers because I have the rest of the stuff to do. But I'll set
Okay.
time aside to make a few phone calls and
What is it, like a couple times a month or once a week or
like once or twice a week. You know,
okay. Set
um,
aside a block of time just to call or email.
yeah, yeah. Like if I'm going to the bathroom or something, I'll send an email out or something.
Yeah, there you go. Utilize that downtime.
So, yeah, I had a few times I just thought I'd sit down and give you a call. But so hopefully I can keep going. It's funny when I was at when did I see you guys last? I think I was in like 30 papers or so, and then I
Yeah, I
got
wanted to say last time I talked to you, I felt like the number was like the high 20s or low 30s. It seems like, I mean, I only see you a few times a year, but whenever I do, it seems like you're in 10 more papers.
that's great. You
Yeah.
just keep showing up because every time I talk to you, I'm in more papers. So
Yeah,
keep
that's
it up.
great.
Um, I just want to keep going and just that way, the syndicates, major syndicates will see that and they'll see that the strip is sellable. Obviously, people like it, you know,
Yeah.
um, and then maybe something will happen. But I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing. If I had to strip for 10 years and I've only gotten into 10, 12 papers so far, well, that tells you something, you know. But because I've gotten into so many papers now that um, it's telling me I must be doing something right, and
Right.
it's a
Yeah. And not only the papers for people listening who maybe don't get the paper, haven't seen you in one of their papers, you also sell books.
yeah, yeah. I've got some books, and those are like collections. I have a couple of coloring books with stories with Aesop and his pet cloud Ominous. Ominous has become a fan favorite, by the way, for some
Okay.
reason. So I've made him a major character, and I took out one of my characters about a year or two ago, and when Ominous just people loved him, so I just
He
left him
got to
in
take the
and
spot.
developed him a little bit. He's got his own personality, and he knows how to use the phone to call for pizza. So that was a recent strip. So Aesop says, "Oh, Ominous taught Ominous how to tell when it's time to eat," and then he uses the phone. He says, "Oh, the pizza will be here in 10 minutes." So, but yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll just keep doing what you're doing. I don't know why anyone's saying it's been 10 years, time to hang it up, because it sounds like you feel like you're getting better, the strip's getting better, and you're getting in more papers. It's not time to stop. It's time to capitalize on the momentum.
right. That's why I decided to kind of reboot a little bit because I'm I'm happy, really happy with the way it looks now. I've gotten a good rhythm. I've gotten a good fan base. Or the strip has gotten a good fan base. No, nobody gives a shit about me. Um, and I'm kidding. My family does, and my dog. But I I just want to. I always try and pretend that it's new.
Yeah.
Like I just started this or whatever, and just get really excited about getting it out there and hopefully making somebody laugh um, at least once a week. You know, because I put it out on social media. I'm on some websites as well as newspapers, and so hopefully, every now and then somebody stops me and says, they read it, locally or I'll be at Comic Con, so I'll be like up in Maine or New Hampshire, and people read it, which is awesome. That's worth its weight in gold, you know. So I read you
Yeah.
every week, you know. It's just great, you know. So yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I know you've got other stuff to do, so I don't want to keep you too long. But you would just want to tell everybody like what your social media accounts are. Obviously, we get your website on the bottom, sourgrapescomic.com, but just kind of point people in the best direction.
Yeah, yeah, sorry I have to go. I have a waxing. Wow. Um so yeah, the website is sourgrapescomic.com. Instagram is sourgrapes 2017. Uh, Twitter is Sour Grapes Comic. I'm going to be launching a new website. Well, it's an upgrade from the website that I have. So I'll be announcing that on Facebook probably in the next, I don't know, week or two from now. So I'm excited about that. And I've got hopefully some new stuff coming up. My first show is in March 10th to the 12th at Northeast Comic Con in Boxborough, Mass.
Okay.
I got a couple in April at Wicked Comic Con and Old School Comic Show that's in, so Wicked's in Boston. Um, Old School Comic Show is up in New Hampshire. Um, so that's April. May, I'm at Kids Con in New Hampshire. Um, and I'm doing free comic book day at Double Midnight Comics free comic book day that they're having. Um, and that's in, well, I don't know where they're up in Manchester. So so some things come. Oh, and I signed up for Contropolis, which is one of the Altered Realities new shows this year.
Okay.
That's in Marlborough, Mass. That's in June. It's in the middle of June. I can't think of. I think it's the 16th to the 18th, but don't quote me on it. So and that website is Contropolis. So it's CONTROPLISMA.com. Contropolis, Mass. And so I just signed up for that. I'm looking forward to that one. So, you know, and I'll be announcing more shows after that once I find out about them.
Right. Yeah, you're out there.
Yeah. So, oh, and at Wicked, I'll be with the National Cartoonist Society. So make sure you come up and see us. That's always a lot of fun. We're a crazy bunch behind that booth. So, some well-known cartoonists that I'm with. Um, so that's a lot of fun too. So, some good things coming up.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's all what I really love about your whole story and journey and your comic and everything is that it's all you. It's just you getting down and doing the work.
Yeah, you get to know yourself, you know.
Yeah.
um,
But just to get in all those newspapers and do all the conventions, it's not like you have a management team and people cold calling on your behalf. It's you doing it, which is awesome.
I actually do have someone help me with my shows this year. I had to have
Well, that's
someone
good.
take that off of my shoulders. She's wonderful. Hi Ty, if you're watching, um, and she's wonderful, and she's been a big help. So that's taken a little bit off my shoulders, anyways. Um, but yeah, I people tease me and say, "Oh, it's not all about you." And I said, "Well, yeah, it is.
In this case, yeah.
It actually is." So, but I don't know. That sounds funny, but you know, it's every time I sit down and think about it, it's kind of crazy. Like tonight, I have to finish the strip for this week, so um, I'll be hopefully. Well, I have to get it out tonight, so you know, crunch time.
Yeah, you don't really have a choice.
No, no. So
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm glad we finally made it work.
yeah, yeah, me too.
Sure, I'll
Thanks
be
for
seeing
having
you at
me
some
on.
conventions. We'll do a follow up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, come stop by. I'll be well, I just announced on Facebook the Northeast Comic Con, but I'll be, you know, pushing that again when it comes closer, and I'll be announcing the other ones too. So, stop by, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'll show you my waxing, how it came out. How's that?
Sounds great. All right, take it easy. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
I'd like to thank Tim Jones for taking time out of his schedule to sit down and talk to me. It was always cool catching up with him at cons. We'd see him for a few minutes here and there, hang out at his table a little bit, but to be able to sit down long form and kind of get into his whole past and his creative process and all that was really cool. Great guy. Check out Sour Grapes. Follow Tim Jones. Really talented. Check out the National Cartoonist Society because it's cool that those older style cartoons are still going. People are keeping it on. I really admire people who can write in the 1 to 3 or even 6 strip format. Really, really cool to be able to do that. Set up punchline so regularly and so quick. Please make sure you like, subscribe, bell, do all the things. We've got a lot more interviews, new movie coverage, screener coverage, reviews, recommendations, all that stuff you love coming your way. You're not going to want to miss out. Speaking of not missing out, make sure you listen to So Is Her Podcast every single week, wherever you get your podcasts. SoIsHerPodcast.com is your resource for reviews, recommendations, videos, merchandise, and more. So Is Her Podcast can also be found on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you get multiple monthly bonus shows. We love hearing feedback, so drop us a note in the comments, leave us something on social media. All the accounts can be found after the show and in the show notes. And on a more personal note, a good friend and I have an ongoing comedy comic series. It's called Social Studies. It's a coming-of-age story about a group of friends going through high school. We write it like a sitcom, and we do it in the style of the 90s cartoons that we grew up on, we love, and inspired us. We got a ton of issues available at socialstudiescomic.com, a bunch on Comixology, a bunch on Global Comics, and more coming. So jump on board. It's a great time to get into it. Having a lot of fun doing it. Thanks.